if you're in the podcasting business to try to attain downloads, but you are not ready, right? I mean, this is a long game, and if you're in it for the downloads, you have to already have this huge brand that you're talking about to get those downloads, or have been in this thing for years and years and years. And the only reason why you would want all those downloads is because you got to show brands or sponsors that you have these things so that you could get money from it, right? But the monetization for people at our level, it comes from all kinds of other things, not the actual podcast itself. It's a marketing engine, like you said. I totally agree with what you're saying there. I think when it comes to your earlier point, as far as like the shorts and the reels and all those things, those speak to the brand for sure. But they are a great way to get attention. And if you say something and it has a direct link to your podcast, you can create listeners and viewers from that.
Fair enough. And I will say that if you're getting into podcasting because you want to make money and get sponsors and advertisers, just stop. Don't even think about it. Stop what you're doing right now. It's not going to work. Stop it. Stop it. I'm going to give you the tough love here on the After Hours Entrepreneur. Let's talk about AI in this podcasting process, because AI is completely transforming the industry. One of the pieces of technology I find very, very interesting is audio to text, video to text. I think that's where we're at right now. The tip of the iceberg is as far as the impact goes. I had a video on YouTube just a few days ago about going text to video with these video commercials. If you haven't watched that, I'll put a link below, because that stuff will creep you the hell out. But what I want to talk about right now is stuff that's working, that's applicable now. So you record your podcast, you've got this great audio experience, it's Sunday night, you're going to sleep, and you're like, ugh, I forgot the show notes. I forgot the email. Help me, Chris. How can I get the text out easy peasy lemon squeezy?
When it comes to full transcripts, I have yet to look at any other service besides Descript. So for me, Descript is a great way of identifying speakers. And then what you talked about, something that creeps you out. There's something that can really creep you out is if you take today's episode and I say left instead of right, because it's learned my voice, you can actually replace the typing of the word and it will take my voice and replace what I said. And so that's a little creepy, and it's actually fairly accurate. But I think to your earlier point, like the text to video stuff and all those things, I don't know what it is, but I can always sort of tell when something is AI. And this is why I'm always talking about using human discernment and using your own brand voice. And because you've got all these people, Mark, that trust you for this particular show. They're listening to this because you're delivering goods to them, and they know that they get that consistent thing. If you all of a sudden show up and it doesn't sound like you, doesn't really kind of look like you, it doesn't look like you really had anything to do with it, I'm not so sure they trust you much anymore. And once you get caught.
I'm sorry to cut you off here, but I think that maybe that's because you and I are hypersensitive to it because we're using it every single day.
Yeah, that's true.
I had an episode that the first half was all audio AI generated, and then I jumped in at the second half and said, by the way, that was all a robot. That was not real. And the number of emails I got dozens of emails from people like, holy crap, you blew my mind. I didn't know, I thought that was you. You know what I mean?
Well, you came clean, right? I mean, you wouldn't feel right about doing it and not telling anybody, right? I mean, it's like, but it was good for your audience because that's interesting to them. Yep. And I think there's a lot of people that are using it as their big easy button, right? And they're just rubber stamping all this content, and it becomes sloppy. And then eventually you don't become trustworthy. And I think that's our real currency, I think, as entrepreneurs, as content entrepreneurs, is our trust with people.